Thanks, David. Well, again, good morning, everyone. Look, I thought that probably best to try and recap on what's been a pretty unusual and challenging year for rugby and society in general. But as far as rugby goes, it's been a major challenge just to keep the game up and running this year as well as we have, and it's taken a lot of work from a lot of people to actually get us to this point. And there were many times throughout the year where we didn't actually think that we would get to be playing as much rugby as we actually have achieved to this point in time. It's been difficult just to keep the professional game up and running. The challenges that have been involved in just enabling the players and to be able to train from week to week and to keep our squads up and functioning. So it's been incredibly unusual in that way. But I must commend everyone, across the country, in the provinces, nationally, and the work that's been done across so many different departments just to enable us to have got the game up to where it is and what we've been able to do to this point in time. Obviously, the financial stress that the game is under, it's been well documented. And the uncertainty this has caused for all concerned in the game, players, staff, spectators, broadcasters, sponsors, everyone, massive amount of uncertainty. And if there's one thing in professional sport that you hang your hat on, it's about planning and having certainty. And so much is taken from our ability to be able to drive performances off having certainty and being able to plan. And that's probably been the major effect on everyone to this point in time, is that's the thing that's been taken away from everyone, is the lack is certainty, and living in a time where there's a lack of certainty, and it's forced everyone to be flexible and agile in the way we think and the way we prepare and the way we do things. And we've probably got some time to go yet in existing along that line. The financial position of the IRFU, as I said, has been well documented. Obviously, sizable losses incurred, and will continue to be like that until we're able to get people back into stadia. The provinces are obviously feeling the financial squeeze as well. They draw so much of their income purely off gate, and they're obviously feeling the pinch. And everyone has had to pull together over this last 8 months to work together to keep things as stable as is possible during these times. One of the things that I know you're aware of with regards to player contracting, we have put player contracting on hold up to this point in time. We had a financial review of the business scheduled for December, which was going to be the major decision maker on how we move forward with our player contracting. That was moved forward into the month of November to try and speed things along, to try and get an outcome or get solutions as to how we could move forward with player contracting. Obviously, the financial review looks at the solvency of the IRFU and our ability to commit to multi-year contracts moving forward, and not entering into contracts if we felt that there was any risk that we weren't going to be able to meet our financial obligations. So we've been very diligent in working through that. It's been a long, slow process, but we've done that in communication with Rugby Players Ireland and kept them informed at all times of where things are at and where things are up to, so that the players have remained briefed on the situation. And as difficult as it is for them, for the players coming off contract, we also have staff and a lot of other people working in the same predicament. We've done our best to be responsible with the decisions that we're making going forward. we would hope that there is some light at the end of the tunnel, and that we'll be in a position just on the other side of Christmas to be able to hopefully have solutions that will enable us to start looking at our ability to sit down and contract our players going forward. But there's still some discussions that will need to be had with RPI before we can get to that point. The other part of the uncertainty, I suppose, of the year has remained around competition structures. I mean, we've been dealing with global seasons and et cetera for a long period of time now, trying to come up with solutions. COVID certainly made some changes in the Southern Hemisphere with, I suppose, unpicking the SANZAR relationship and South Africa looking for alternatives in their competitions. And as you well know, been speaking with Pro 14 now for a period of time to try and find solutions. The IRFU would be very supportive of South Africa entering the Pro 14 competition and potentially making it a Pro 16. We think that Irish Rugby needs to be ambitious. We think that the Pro 14 needs to be ambitious, and we think that by having those 4 strong South African teams enter our competition will help develop the game in the Pro 14. It'll help develop Irish Rugby. It'll help develop Irish players by stretching us, by challenging us, by challenging both our teams and challenging our players. And I think that's what high-performing athletes want. They want to be challenged. So hopefully the right commercial outcomes can be achieved for the South Africans to become a part of the Pro 14, to join and to make it a Pro 16. With regards to, I'll just move through the teams, the national team. Obviously, yesterday's performance was disappointing. Wasn't up to speed. You heard Andy Farrell speak after the game. Wasn't something that he or any of the coaching staff or players are particularly satisfied with. But I suppose at the moment where we sit, the Six Nations, winning our home games, losing the 2 away games, you'd call it, I suppose, an average return for us. Something that, obviously we're looking to build on and improve. The coaching group, with regards to, even though the current period of time has been hugely beneficial, if we hark back to March, where we had basically 3 games to play before we were shut down, that was the start of the new regime post the Rugby World Cup. With no summer tour, this has been our first real entry into having time with the new group of coaches and players to try and work through where they want to take the team. And it's been incredibly beneficial number of weeks here for us to have these matches after the usual autumn was suspended. So just the fact that we are playing is a massive positive. What have we learnt out of it? We've used 40 players in the short number of games that we've had, which is an extraordinary number of players, but that's what this period of time was always going to be about. It was about looking at players that we wouldn't normally have the chance to look at, combinations that we wouldn't normally experiment with, to see how they perform, and for the coaches to be able to try and implement the way that they want the team to play going forward. And even though the performance yesterday was below par, we still have a lot of confidence that this team will turn it around next week. And for us, more importantly, it's longer term, looking at the Six Nations. And I think by the time we get to the end of the 21 Six Nations, we'll have a far better understanding of where we are, going forward. With regards to some of our other national teams, again, the same story with regards to the uncertainty that everyone has been living with. The women's 15s, with regards to their Rugby World Cup qualification fixtures, they've been severely severely disrupted. We've had 2 lots of qualification fixtures postponed now. Originally it was meant to be September, then December. They have both been postponed, and we would be hoping that that now that will be played possibly during or as part of the Six Nations competition. But those discussions and talks are still ongoing. So there's been a lot of agility required to be able to keep that performance or keep that team focused on the big year they've got coming up in 2021. Their performance during the Six Nations was positive, winning 3 of the 4 matches that they played, and with the 5th game being suspended. So there was good progress made in that area. Likewise with the under-20s, it was disappointing that they couldn't finish their Six Nations. They started very strongly, being undefeated, and again, that's a couple of years now in a row that we've had a strong series of results at that level. Our Sevens men's team had their first year in the World Series, and the team progressed well. They won the Momentum Tracker Award, which is an award for the most improved team throughout the series. Unfortunately, it was cut short, but there was good progress made during that period in time. And you can see there from the evolution of the boys that have progressed through in Hugo Keenan and Will Connors and Shane Daly into this period now with the national team, that it's been a very worthwhile option for us and production line utilising the 7 series. The provinces, it's been a good start to Pro 14 for us. They've had their depth tested throughout this period of time. The national team hasn't been able to be able to put many players back into the opening rounds of Pro 14. So with the bubbles that the provinces are all working within, they've got a designated number of players to work through. So it's given a lot of our younger players, our pathway players, our academy players, opportunities to step up and play a lot of rugby, which has been really worthwhile and beneficial. And the provinces have done extremely well, winning 23 of their 25 games up to this point in time. But in saying that, I hark back what I said earlier around the need to be able to push and stretch the development of our players. And again, I go back to the inclusion of South Africa into the Pro 14 and the benefit that it will have all around to Irish rugby. Sending teams, be it at full strength or teams that are sending down some of the younger players to play and tour in places like Cape Town and Pretoria and Johannesburg, etc., playing full strength South African sides, is something that I believe will hold the development of Irish players in good stead for a long period to come. We've got to make sure that we continue to squeeze every drop out of all the players that we have. We don't have the size and playing depth of countries like England and France. So what we do, we've got to continue to do well. We've got to expose our players at every opportunity to the highest levels of the game to make sure they're ready and to come through when required.